At 32,000 feet, the cabin was quiet, too quiet. Then, without warning, the pilot slumped forward, leaving the plane hurtling through the sky with no one at the controls. Passengers gasped. The autopilot struggled to stabilize the aircraft, and on the ground, air traffic controllers scrambled for answers. But far above, in the tense expanse of the sky, one call sign cut through the chaos like lightning, stopping even the fastest F-22s in their tracks. This isn't just a story about a pilot in trouble. It's about split-second decisions, courage under pressure, and a chain of events that could have ended in disaster. From the cockpit to the control tower, from military interceptors to commercial passengers, every moment mattered. And in those critical seconds, the people involved had to rely on instincts, training, and a single voice that commanded attention. Who was behind that call sign? How did they manage to stop an entire formation of fighter jets and take control of the situation? And could they save the plane before it was too late? Stay with me, because what happened next will leave you on the edge of your seat, questioning how one moment can change everything at 32,000 feet. The pilot, Captain James Harris, wasn't just any aviator. He was a seasoned professional with thousands of flight hours, known for his calm under pressure. But even the most experienced pilots aren't immune to sudden medical emergencies. And as he collapsed, the plane's fate hung by a thread. Passengers clutched their armrests, unaware that beyond the clouds, a high-stakes drama was unfolding. On the ground, air traffic controllers coordinated with military personnel, trying to piece together what had gone wrong. The radar blips of nearby F-22s streaked across the screens, silent guardians waiting for instructions. The call sign that had cut through earlier, call sign Titan, belonged to an elite fighter pilot trained for rapid response in extreme scenarios. No one knew exactly what Titan would do next, and that uncertainty made every second feel heavier than the last out. Meanwhile, the plane itself was behaving unpredictably, dipping and swaying despite autopilot efforts. Cabin announcements had long since stopped. Only the hum of engines and the tense whispers of passengers filled the air. Back on the control floor, Titan's voice remained the only constant, guiding, commanding, and defying expectations. But could one pilot, flying an F-22 miles away, really change the outcome of a commercial plane spiraling out of control? The answer was still unknown, and the tension only deepened. Back in the cockpit, the empty pilot's seat rocked slightly with every shift in turbulence, a stark reminder that no one was at the controls. Passengers exchanged nervous glances, some frozen in disbelief, others frantically pressing call buttons, trying to understand what was happening. Flight attendants, trained for emergencies but never for something like this, did their best to maintain order, calming terrified travelers while keeping their own fear in check. Every announcement, every calm word, seemed to hang in the balance, like fragile threads in a storm. Meanwhile, miles above, Titan maneuvered his F-22 into position, eyes scanning the radar, heart pounding. He wasn't just an observer, he was a lifeline. The military base tracking the event buzzed with urgency as controllers coordinated with the commercial airline, calculating altitudes, speeds, and possible interventions. Titan's mind raced, weighing the impossible options. Guide the autopilot remotely, force a risky maneuver, or prepare to physically intercept the plane if it veered off course. Back on the ground, families of passengers began to hear rumors, fueling panic outside the airport. The news channels lit up with breaking updates, speculating on a mid-air medical emergency with fighter jets in pursuit. Every prospective pilot, passenger, fighter pilot, and air traffic control at a layer of tension. One wrong move, and the consequences would be catastrophic. And with every passing second, the window for a safe solution grew smaller. The plane trembled violently as it entered a patch of turbulence, rattling every seat and sending luggage tumbling from the overhead bins. In the cockpit, the controls shifted slightly under the autopilot, but without human guidance, the aircraft was unpredictable, swaying dangerously. Passengers screamed, some praying, others gripping loved ones, as the enormity of the situation hit them. Every second felt stretched, a suspended moment between life and catastrophe. Titan tightened his grip on the F-22's controls, the roar of the jet mingling with the distant hum of the commercial plane. He had trained for crises, but nothing could prepare anyone for this exact moment. His voice crackled over the radio.com but firm, giving instructions and coordinating with air traffic control, trying to orchestrate a ballet of speed, altitude, and timing that could make the impossible possible. Meanwhile, on the ground, the airport was a hub of controlled chaos. Emergency crews were on standby, families watched with fear etched into their faces, and every news outlet amplified the suspense, turning it into a public spectacle. Inside the plane, the cabin grew hotter with tension. Some passengers had begun whispering about parachutes, others about miracles. With Titan closing in, the commercial jet dipping dangerously close to a sharp descent, and the clock ticking down relentlessly, it was clear that one wrong move could trigger disaster. Every prospective sky, cockpit, and ground was converging on a single moment, and the outcome hung in the balance, just out of reach. Just as Titan adjusted his trajectory to match the commercial plane's erratic movements, A new alert lit up his cockpit. Other F-22 had detected an unidentified aircraft approaching fast. On a collision course with the jet, suddenly, the situation became even more complicated. It wasn't just about saving a single plane anymore. There was a potential mid-air disaster looming that could escalate in seconds. Back in the commercial jet, the autopilot fought against the sudden jerks and dips. But now even it seemed confused by the extreme maneuvers. Passengers clung to their seats as the plane tilted sharply, and flight attendants did their best to maintain calm, their voices trembling despite their training. In the cabin, a young mother held her son tightly, whispering reassurances that she barely believed herself. On the ground, air traffic control scrambled. Radar blips multiplied, the screens flashing warnings and potential collision paths. Every controller was shouting numbers, coordinates, and emergency protocols, trying to stay ahead of events that were unfolding faster than anyone could process. Titan's hands moved with precision, but even he realized the situation had grown exponentially more dangerous. One miscalculation, one delayed reaction, and the lives of everyone on board, plus countless others, could be lost. The tension spiked as Titan had to split focus, stabilize the commercial plane, navigate around the unknown aircraft, and coordinate with the ground all while seconds ticked away. The sky had become a deadly chessboard, and the next move could decide everything. Titan's eyes were locked on the commercial jet as it shuddered through turbulence, each second feeling like an eternity. He made a split-second decision, cutting his F-22 sharply alongside the aircraft, creating a wind pattern that nudged the plane back towards stable altitude. On the radio, his voice rang out, calm but commanding, guiding the autopilot and instructing air traffic control on precise adjustments. The passengers felt the plane level out, a collective sigh of relief sweeping through the cabin, though fear still lingered in every eye. Meanwhile, the unidentified aircraft veered off at the last moment, revealed to be a military drone testing new flight protocols, a fact that left controllers and Titan exchanging stunned glances. The immediate danger had passed, but the adrenaline didn't subside. Captain Harris, now semi-conscious, was stabilized with guidance over the intercom, allowing him to regain control. Inside the cockpit, Titan's steady hands and rapid decisions had averted a disaster that could have made headlines worldwide. Just as everyone began to breathe, the final twist struck. A subtle warning light blinked in the cockpit, a mechanical fault triggered by the extreme maneuvers. The plane was safe for now, but the crisis wasn't entirely over. Titan's mission had saved lives, yet it hinted that even at 32,000 feet, the sky could always surprise those who thought it was predictable. The story ended on a pulse-quickening note, reminding everyone that courage, timing, and split-second decisions can mean the difference between life and death. The plane touched down safely, tires screeching against the runway as emergency crews surrounded it, ready but no longer needed. Passengers erupted into applause, tears streaming down faces. Hugs exchanged between strangers who had shared a terrifying ordeal at 32,000 feet. Captain Harris, now fully conscious, stepped out of the cockpit, exhausted but grateful, acknowledging the unseen hero who had guided him through the crisis. Titan, back at his base, watched the plane taxi to the gate, relief washing over him. He had risked everything to intercept, guide, and protect lives from miles away, proving the extraordinary impact of training, calm under pressure, and quick thinking. On the ground, air traffic controllers reflected on how coordination, communication, and teamwork had made the difference between disaster and safety. News outlets quickly covered the story, highlighting the remarkable bravery of the fighter pilot and the resilience of the commercial crew. Families of passengers expressed gratitude, and even the young mother who had clutched her son tightly could finally relax, knowing they were safe.